Hi, it's Bill Chapman again with another weekly capital update video. And today I'm so pleased to have with us one of our, actually he's enough to get into the YLS, Franklin Perry, who is one of our CBA members, a practicing attorney. At least we hope that in these particular days he's practicing. He's practicing stuff that he didn't realize he'd have to practice in that particular fashion. But Franklin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
Now, where'd you go to school?
I went to Amherst College in Massachusetts, and upon graduating from Amherst, I actually spent some time in South America, working for a nonprofit that was organized out of Kingswood Oxford School in West Hartford, organization called Team Tobati. And I lived in Tobati, Paraguay, working in actually a medical clinic, because at the time I thought I was going to go to medical school prior to attending law school.
Call you doctor now, huh?
Yeah, right. And upon returning from South America, I lived in Washington, D.C., where I went to Catholic University for the School of Social Work. So my first graduate degree was actually in social work, and it was through social work and the programs and actually experiences that I had working with our Justice Department down in D.C., the U.S. Attorney's Office, where I gained this love for the knowledge of the law, particularly as it pertained to using the law as a tool of social advocacy. When I decided on committing to going to law school, my final decision was between staying in D.C. or coming back home to Connecticut. UConn Law School was a natural fit because it is the school that literally is 2 blocks away from my home, where I grew up in the West End of Hartford. And I also knew that coming back home, the kind of work I wanted to do was going to be more centered in the Connecticut, Hartford, greater Hartford area. So it was more sense. So then I came back and attended or was enrolled in UConn Law School in 2010.
All this stuff I had no idea about you. I knew you were the wow. So I'm
Don't talk about it too much.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm not impressed by too many people up here, and I think that they know that, because if you're up here enough years doing this stuff, there's not too much impressed.
There are a lot of impressive people.
You got me.
In
you
this
got me.
building.
Oh, they're absolutely.
So I'm just trying to work my way up from the bottom, from the basement.
Okay, so right now, what do? You were a lobbyist for a year or two, and now you were asked to come up here,
Yes.
and you're doing what now?
So I was actually a lobbyist while I was in law school as an intern with the law firm Brown Rudnick.
Mm-hmm.
And after completing law school, I was brought on to work in our commercial real estate group as well as our government relations, government law group, government law and strategies. So I lobbied. I spent half of my year working in the office doing corporate real estate transactions and development deals. The other half of my year I would spend at the legislature during our legislative session, which would run anywhere from 6 months to 5 months, depending on short or long session.
Mm-hmm.
In that capacity, obviously, you're working on behalf of the interests of your clients. And after the 4 years that I spent with Brown Rudnick, I was approached by the majority leader to come join his staff in the public sector, to kind of work with him as a legal counsel, but also as an advisor as it comes to policy. So my role now, working with the majority leader staff, is to serve as part attorney and also part policy director.
That's if you don't know up here, those are big shoes that one has to.
No, my shoe size only is 6. That's tough.
But it's the fact of policy and in the legislation that's thrown at you, and it's really important and impressive, and for yourself, I congratulate you on the job. Now, how does, it's almost like that infamous thing for you in the majority leader's office. How does a bill become a law?
How does a bill become law?
I mean,
there are probably 1,000 answers to that question.
Okay, but since you're the pro, uh,
I thought I knew how a bill became a law when I was a lobbyist,
right, right, but it
when
is a
you
whole
it's
different
a whole
thing.
different mechanisms and an approach and analytical tools that you look at from a public policy side. Essentially, when we have bills that come out of committees, whatever committee it might be, and for this particular purpose exercise, we'll say the Judiciary Committee. What we have is a team of attorneys and also of leaders or deputy majority leaders who will what we call our screening committee. And looking at these bills, we analyze them from the perspective of how did the vote count take place within the committee, who was for, who was against the bill. So seeing that we're with the House Democrats, we particularly care of interest for our members and how they voted on a particular bill. The next step in that analysis to look at fiscal impacts, because of obviously if a bill has an appropriation, we want to make sure that we're making appropriate referrals, or if there are other committees of cognizance that have jurisdiction over a particular bill because of the subject matter and the areas that it might touch, we have to determine what are the appropriate committees to refer the bill to. If there are no referrals necessary, we then look at the bill from a public policy standpoint and analyze it from whether it is something that our general body, our General Assembly, especially within the House, 151 members, whether it's palatable, whether there's something that we feel will have the majority of votes, not only on the Democratic side, but also the Republican side, to pass out of our particular chamber. In that, if we identify where there are weaknesses in the bill or there are concessions to be made or negotiations to be had, we identify the appropriate ranking members or the appropriate chairs or vice chairs of the committee to vet with them the issues of the particular bill in greater detail. Once we know those details, we try to come to some kind of compromise in which we can potentially amend the bill after obviously it's come out of committee and gone through the public hearing process. To see if there are workable, is there language that we can incorporate within the original bill to amend it so that now you got bipartisan support. That would be ideal in the process. If we can get to an agreement, an amendment is made, and we then will look at the original bill. We will go to LCO. They will draft the amendment, incorporate it into the bill, and from there, we take it out. We vote it out of screening. And then we put it on the calendar for go. And once a bill is marked go, then it's within our jurisdiction to take it up for debate on the House floor.
So it's and at that point, it's the majority leader and the speaker who kind of say, okay, here's the agenda of the go bills.
Yes, so we will get together with the speaker's staff, and he is the final arbiter of the decisions that we make when we put together a go list or any particular day we want to set an agenda. We come up with a list of anywhere from 10 to 20 bills that we feel are ready to be debated and voted on the House floor. Once we get approval from the Speaker's office and his staff, then it's just a matter of the logistics, working with the other side, working with the minority leader and her chief of staff and her attorneys to look over the bills one final time. And that means going into statute and making sure that the language is in compliance with other laws that might be impacted, by also looking and saying we're compliant with our state constitution, and just making sure that it has been vetted by the other legal resources that are available to us in the legislative branch. If the green light is given on all levels, then we will bring and introduce. We'll usually have a chair of a committee, or the chair will designate a person from the particular committee in which the bill originated. Take out the bill, introduce it, and then proponents on the bill or anyone who has opposition to the bill are free to debate the bill before we eventually call it for a vote.
And it's really a long process. I think that Franklin has done a great job bringing everybody up to kind of how it works.
It's far more complicated than that sound, and there are a lot of details that
of course, and you
some
can't
adult
give
work.
all the details and all the secrets behind getting
not all.
it done, because at times they're gonna contact me or some others as to what do you think about this? Where are you guys on this? Because it's going to affect somehow access to justice. It's going to just many ways. And Franklin is very distinct, very formal. He's actually a really fun guy. Uh, he
Just
does
smile more.
he does smile, yeah. But anyways, that's kind of how it goes. It might be something for any of the attorneys out there who maybe the younger folk, those who are under 50, might think in terms of policy. Policy might be something that might be interested in. Contact me, contact Franklin, and it's a great job that Franklin does. And believe it or not, there's one of him in every one of the caucuses. Not as good as he is,
Much
but
better, actually.
but at least there's somebody in there, and all of the caucuses, the Senate D's and R's and the House D's and R's, have the same. Basically, it's the same process.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be much different than
it's
that.
not too different.
And that's why, at times that they all have to get together. So, Franklin, I thank you very
It was a
much for your
pleasure.
time.
You're the best. Thank
Okay?
you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. And until our next capital update, thank you.